Sometimes my gauge for like if I like something like a book or a movie is if it makes me cry or not. My review was of this book was "This has to be rage, babe." If you like dragons, if you like fantasy, if you like enemies to lovers, this is the book for you. Oh my gosh, this is so weird. I've never really done like a sit down talking video, so like this is kind of exciting. My name is Annie. Welcome to my channel and the video. And basically today I'm just gonna go through all the books that I read last year as a person who has struggled with reading in the past. I had a quarter life crisis and I was basically like, I need to delete TikTok and Instagram and I need to like change my life in some way. And that was around like August time last year. And so I had written down like a bunch of goals that I wanted to do for like the remaining months of the year. And one of the goals I'd written down was read 2 books. Anyway, I slayed that goal because I ended up reading, I think in total in the year I read like 16 books, but most of like only like 2 of those books I read before August. So I read 14 books between August and December last year, which I feel like is pretty good. As someone who like never, that was like definitely more books that I've read in the last like 10 years, excluding my Wattpad phase when I was like 13. This is basically gonna be, I'm basically gonna go through all the books that I read, and I'm gonna do it in order of rating. So I'm gonna start with lowest rating to highest rating. Also, disclaimer, if you're watching this, just know this is a very unserious list of books. Like, if you're looking for some deep, meaningful, like, if you're into like sad girl lit fic, this is not the video for you. This is literally just, first of all, the weirdest mix of books, but I feel like there's a strong theme of like fantasy and romance. And on that note, let's get into the video. Okay, so I have my Goodreads out. I've already structured it by my rating, so we're gonna go with 1 star. And you know that meme that's like, if I could have given you 0, I would have, but that wasn't an option, so I'll give you 1. That's not the video. Well, you know what I mean, you know what I mean.
It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible. So I give you a 1.
Anyway, so starting off with the book that got the lowest ratings. Literally, this book was so bad. Like, genuinely, I rarely leave reviews. My review was of this book was "This has to be rage, babe." Let me find it in this pile. And it was this book, The List by Yomi Adegoke. You know, I don't think I had expectations for this book, to be honest. Like, I had seen this book like on like, you know, when you're just like looking through random recommendation lists online. I'd seen the book and the premise is quite interesting. Like, essentially it's about this couple who are kind of like semi-influencers. Like I say, they have just like they have online presence. Like, the girl has like a popular blog and the guy has like a podcast. First red flag, okay. But anyway, and it's basically like follows their life. They're about to get married, and then this list gets published on Twitter that shows like a bunch of guys that have been like what's it called, accused of some kind of like domestic violence or SA, or just like a bunch of accusations basically have been made against this list of guys. And it's an anonymous list posted by an anonymous like Twitter account, and it's just there, and then it like kind of throws their world upside down because obviously they have like, you know, their internet personalities, people know them, people are like, oh my gosh, isn't that this guy's is on the list. Anyway, and it was basically kind of follow like how they were gonna get through that. So I was like, wow, that's okay, that's quite an interesting plot, because, you know, you're, I guess, looking at it from the lens of like the other perspective. I don't know, I felt like This book was so bad. From start to stop, it was a terrible book. Like, genuinely so bad. Oh, hey, Bao. Hello, sir. It was genuinely like a horrible book. Like, I think like 20 pages in, I knew that this was not going to be a good book. Like, it was just like the weirdest dialogues, like so bizarre. And like, after a while, I was like, I just have to finish it because I was hoping that it would get better. I was hoping that the main characters would have like, I don't know, some realization. Because for context, and this is spoilers because honestly, don't even read the book. Like, basically, it felt like the book was written by like an apologist. Like, these people don't believe women. These people will choose not to believe women. These people will like look at play devil's advocate when the devil doesn't need any advocating for. Like, it was literally just like the most bizarre writing. And then like, I was like, why would you write this? Like, because this is a woman that wrote this book. It's like, why would you write this? Like, who are you writing this for? Because clearly it's not for like other women that might have been in this scenario where they've like, you know, something has been done to them and like they find out that they've done it to other things. It's like, not, it wasn't giving like support to those women. It was more defending the men that may or may not have been wrongly accused. And I was like, it just didn't make sense because basically, so the whole thing is like her fiance or whatever didn't actually do the thing that he was accused of, but he was genuinely a horrible person anyway. And then obviously that's not enough to be like, obviously even if you're a bad person, you shouldn't be like accused of something you didn't do. But like, I just felt like most of the people that were on the list in the book like actually did the things that they said they did. So I don't know, wouldn't you rather believe majority of the people on the list? Like, I don't know, it was just so stupid. Like, I can't even get words out about how bad this book was. And then the whole time, they basically framed, like, the person that, like, falsely accused him was basically this babe that, like, he had been cheating with on his fiance. And the whole book, they were talking about how, oh, it's probably this girl. And so obviously as a reader, you're like, okay, yeah, so whatever, she was jealous or angry, which again is just like a bad, what's the word, like rhetoric. This filming thing is hard. I literally can't even speak sentences still. My brain is still rotten. But yeah, no, like, that's still like a thing that guys will use to make you not believe women, you know, like a common trope, I would say, that you would, like the average man could use, like, oh yeah, it's probably just some jealous girl, like blah blah, that just wants to ruin my life because like I didn't like her and I chose someone else. Like, that was like the vibe the whole book. Only come to find out in the last chapter that like it wasn't even the babe. So it's like, you made me as a reader believe that it was this babe that did it the whole time. And it wasn't even her, it was like the babe's like boyfriend. I was so pissed off. Anyway, 0 stars, but I couldn't give it 0 on Goodreads, so I gave it 1. Moving on. That book pissed me off. No, genuinely, it was so bad. Okay. Now, let's see what's next of these 2 stars. We're moving on to 2 stars. That was the only, like, 1-star book I gave. The rest were, like, decent, I read, I felt. So now we're gonna look at the 2-star books. There's quite a few books in this list. So let me think. Which one was the one I hated the most? Or the one I didn't like the most? Okay. I think I'm gonna go The Happy Couple. Now, this is one of the books that I read by... I want to say her name is Nisha Dolan, but you guys can help me out if you know how to pronounce that name. But I read this is one of the books I read earlier in the year, so pre quarter life crisis. And this book, from what I remember about it, it was basically like about a couple that they were about to get like married. I think they'd recently got engaged. Oh wait, I think I have to read the blurb of this again. Oh, okay, yeah. So they've gone, it's like a couple, they've gone engaged, they're about to get married. And then each like chapter, there's like a different, there's like the stories written through the lens of different characters that are parts of the bridal party. So there's a chapter that's from the bride's perspective, a chapter from like the groom's perspective, and then obviously like some different guests or like the bridesmaid, the best man, they're like talking about the couple's relationship. And the thing about it is like, it's not that the book was bad. I feel like it's a very realistic, I guess, example of what a lot of couples are like. Spoiler, they were kind of a very like dysfunctional couple who definitely probably shouldn't be together anyway. But it just felt too real. I think when I read this, I was already like, I hate men already. So this is just making it worse. And so I was like, this is too real. I think what I realized from my reading journey, I don't like reading books that feel like they could happen to me in real life. Like, give me the fantasy, give me the escapism, okay? I don't want to read about, okay, the guy was treating her like shit for like months. They were like in a situationship for like 2 years before they finally became a couple, and then he just said, okay, let me just marry the babe. Like, I don't want that. Like, and I don't want to know about it. And then also I don't want to like put up with that. And like the babe, like the main character girl, like the bride, like she was kind of putting up with this. I can't even remember if they got married in the end of this or not. I want to say they didn't, but I didn't enjoy the book. I felt like I was hate reading it a lot of the time because all the characters were very annoying. So yeah, so I gave that a 2-star. Sitting there with the list. What's next? Let's see. Well, oh, okay. This one actually kind of made me sad because I wanted to like this book, right? Because again, this is post course life crisis. Like, I was going to the bookstore to get some books, and I was like, you know how like in bookstores they have with like the displays of like the new releases or like bestsellers or whatever, and I saw that the OG Jacqueline Wilson had released a new book, and like I feel like a lot of people when they were children read a lot of Jacqueline Wilson books. Like, that was just like, she was just that girl of like preteen writing. But also, like, I don't even know, like some of those books were really heavy, so like I don't even know if we should have been reading them as children, but we did. And I felt like I always loved her books because I was like, they were always so like moving or like touch. Like, I feel like I would always cry. And I don't know why, like sometimes my gauge for like if I like something like a book or a movie is if it makes me cry or not. That's probably not healthy, but we'll unpack that another time. So anyway, my point is, when I saw that she released a new book, I was like, I have to get it because she was an author I used to read when I used to read like as a child, that I read so much. And so I really wanted to like this book, but it just wasn't good. It wasn't a good book. Like, so in this book, so one of like Jacqueline Wilson had a series back in the day called Girls. And so this book like follows on from one of the girls. So now she's like 40s, 50s. I think it's like her 40th birthday. And her life is just generally like kind of sad. And it's just kind of talking about her doing day-to-day stuff. Like, she has like a kid that's like starting uni. She recently got fired from her like job. Her life, she has like no, like she wants a love interest, but she has none. Like at the start of the book, she's trying to like find herself because she had her daughter quite young, so she didn't really like have like her 20s and stuff. But yeah, like it was just a bit like, I feel like it just felt a bit flat. Like I feel like none of the characters were really like developed that well. It was all just very, very predictable from like start to finish. And yeah, it just wasn't really a good one. I don't have much to say about it because it wasn't like terrible, but like it just wasn't good. Like, I wouldn't recommend to a friend, you know? So 2 stars. Don't really have much to say about it. It was just like meh. Also, my camera's like about to overheat, so I might leave it for a bit to cool down. Moving on. Okay, what do we have next? Okay, so continuing on in the 2-star category, we're gonna go with this book, Dollar Guts Dream Department Store. And look at honestly, the cover is so pretty, and this is genuinely why I picked it. I think I also got this at a bookstore. I had bought like, I'd picked up like quite a few books, so I was like, let me just get one that's like kind of small. And it just seemed like an easy read. It's basically, essentially like kind of like a fantasy type world where when you like go to sleep at night, you go to this dream department store and like you shop for dreams, and like there's people that like are dream creators who kind of have the role of like, imagine like movie directors or like movie writers. There's people that like create the dreams and then sell it to different people, but like you don't remember interacting with these people when you wake up. It's like a cool concept. This book, I didn't really get the point of it. Like, I don't mind reading a book that has no points, but it has like this, like, you know, some books don't really have like necessarily a plot, but like it teaches you little lessons as you go along. Like, that's kind of like the point of the book. And I feel like that was the point of this book, but like the lessons just seemed really like not that insightful or anything. Like, if it kind of read like a children's book. And I feel like I saw that as a comment on Goodreads, and I was like, yes, that person's right. Like, that's kind of how I felt reading it. Like, it's just kind of like very like low level, but then there's also no plot. So I was like, what am I reading? I didn't really get it. And it literally says Korean #1 bestseller, but maybe it's just like a children's book and I was mistaken. But I don't think it is. Because it wasn't in the children's section of the bookstore. But yeah, so like it wasn't bad. If you want just like a quick like read, sure. It wasn't like terrible, but I just didn't love it. I wouldn't recommend it to a friend, I guess. Moving on. The next book, The Alchemist, another 2-star from me. So again, this was just like a small book. I think I got this in a separate book haul time, and again I just wanted like a small book to go along with my bigger books that I was buying, and this book is about like a shepherd who's exploring like he's from Andalusia region in Spain, and he's going on this like journey to like discover his dreams, and like his journey's just like taking him to like all these different places and stuff, and essentially it's just kind of like self-helpy fiction where like the vibe is just kind of like, you know, follow your dreams, but you know, enjoy the journey as along the way. And like whatever, he learned lessons on his journey. It was okay. It wasn't bad. I liked the writing. I did like the writing, but like in terms of like plot and like, oh, okay, this big thing that we're supposed to learn, I feel like I didn't learn much from it. But it was nice. Okay, my last... Oh, okay, actually no. Before I talk about that one, I have one book that I read on Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy. And it's just a book called... So basically, when I got the Kindle app, this was literally like the first book I read when I started to get back into like my reading journey. And like... Okay, one of my housemates came back because I got shy. But basically, the next book I was talking about was... Again, so this is the first book I read when I like downloaded the Kindle app. And basically if you have the Kindle app and you have like Amazon Prime subscription, which I do, there's like a bunch of free books that you can just like read. And so I was like, okay, I need something that's gonna be dumb. I need something that's gonna like grip my attention. And so I read this book called Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. And it's basically part of a book series called The Gold Rush Ranch. And it's the first book of this series. Obviously, I didn't continue reading the series because this gave Wattpad down. Like, it was literally like, oh, this like young, good-looking like guy who's rich has like inherited his family's like ranch. But he's really like broody and mysterious, and like, you know, like he just doesn't have time for all these, and obviously he's like kind of a player as well. And then part of the ranch is like they also race horses, and so they needed a new horse trainer, and it's this person called like Bobby or something. And then this girl shows up, and then he's all like,
"Oh my gosh, not my mother trying to set me up with like another girl." Like,
and then she's obviously like sassy and has attitude, and she's like,
well, I'm Bobby, I'm the horse trainer.
Anyway, so it's an enemies to lovers, in case you couldn't tell from the description. And you know what? While I wouldn't say this book definitely isn't winning any prizes, but I love a good enemies to lovers. And it was like the first book that I had read in months. And you know what? It got me back into the flow of reading. So like, I can't talk too bad about it. Like, it wasn't a bad book. It was just like Wattpad. Like, if you read the Wattpad books, then you know the vibe I'm talking about. It was very easy to read. Very like, nothing deep, just vibes. Which sometimes you just need. Especially if you're like in a reading rut. Sometimes you just need like, not too much brain power to read a book. So I was off to the races. So I'll give it, you know what, it did what it needed to do. And then moving on to the last book that I gave 2 stars to, which I don't know if it's gonna be like controversial or not. Maybe not controversial, but anyway, I think it's just not the type of book for me. So bear this in mind. This is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Really? Okay, if I'm being honest. Okay, so basically the premise of the book is like 10 people get invited to an island by like a mysterious like person. And on their first night, they get like a mysterious voice speaks to them and accuses them of all committing different crimes at different points in life. And then they all start dying off like one by one in different like mysterious ways. And like the whole thing is like, oh, it's kind of like a whodunit, you know. Well, not really a whodunit, but they're all trying to figure out like, okay, it's definitely one of us that's like one of the 10 of us that's doing all these killings. So they're all kind of like, you know, side-eyeing each other, trying to decide. So I feel like the premise of the book was really good. And like, oh, and then at the end, there's like a whole like letter that explains who it was that killed them. And like how they did it, which honestly was actually pretty good. Like, I think I'm just being a bit of a hater. So really, I initially wanted to give this book 3.5 stars because I enjoyed it, but I don't love murder mystery books. I think that's why it wouldn't get higher than like a 4 max is what I could give a like murder mystery, because it's just not my type of book. And like, yeah, so I gave it a 3.5 initially. And I was reading the reviews on Goodreads, and someone was like talking about what the book used to be called. And this book had a previous name when it was first released in, when was it released? Like 1930 something. And I was like, I have to give you, that's 1 star off for the initial title of this book.
Agatha.
Can't Believe You. So I gave it 2.5 stars. But it was a decent book. But I was like, not giving you any more of my money personally. Okay, we're moving on. We're getting into the better category of books, in my opinion. So we're going into the 3 stars. So the worst of the 3 stars, I would say, was this book, The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul. And now I feel like I got catfished by this book, because one of the reviews of this book said something along the lines of, if you liked The Kite Runner, which, if you know, that book is like one of my favorite books ever. Yeah, literally says, if you like The Kite Runner, you'll love The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul. This is a compelling story of a cafe in the heart of Afghanistan. Okay, whatever. Basically, the book is about like a coffee shop that's owned by this American woman, and then it's set in like Afghanistan during like you know, treacherous. I wish my camera died, and I feel like it probably will die again soon, but so let's try and get through this quickly. I forgot my train of thought, but I think I was talking about The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul and how it catfished me, because basically it's a book about like an American woman owns this like coffee shop in the center of Kabul, and it's kind of like a place for, I don't know, a lot of expats go there, and like, I don't know, she has like she meets a few friends along the way as well, and so it's kind of like follows like five different women who all, like 3 of them are expats including herself, and then there's 2 Afghani women that like work with her at the cafe, and they all have like their different like plot lines. And to be fair, it was interesting. This was like that's why I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was interesting, but like it was okay. Like, I wouldn't put, because Kite Runner, if you've ever read that book, if you haven't, you should. Like, that book rocked my world, and I felt like the feels, the storylines, the characters, and this wasn't really like giving that much. Like, it was a bit like, I don't know, it was just okay. Again, I wouldn't really recommend this. It was just like, all right. I feel like I don't give out like 4 or 5 stars. Actually, I don't give 5 stars out very freely, and I feel like if it's not a 5-star, I'm probably not going to recommend it to a friend. So I can't say I would recommend this. It was okay. It was a good, like, it was interesting. Again, it took me a really long time to get through it, which is never really a good sign. But it was okay. It wasn't bad. I did like some of the characters, and I felt like it was cute. But yeah, it was okay. My lips are looking a bit dry right now, because I ate some breadsticks. Oh, my car is charging. I literally said, let's like rush through this, and I'm out here applying some lip balm. Okay, moving on to the next 3-star, which is a book that some of you may recognize. Oh my gosh, now you're getting spoilers. I have to cover the list of books, but I had to. Like I said in the beginning of this book, I'm a fantasy romance girly. And so, obviously, when all the TikTok girls were talking about this, I was like, you know what, why not? I got it at the airport. Again, I was going on holiday. I got this and the next book at the same time as I got the list. So these were like way better compared to the list. But again, like, I gave this a 3 stars because I felt like it didn't really do it for me. Like, I felt like the first half of the book was really good. So if you don't know what this book is about, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It's basically about like a human girl who gets like captured into this like realm that's like this like magic realm where there's like fairies and like different monsters and shit. And then she like falls in love, like, so it's kind of a romance. I felt like the first half of the book was really good. Like, I loved it. I was like turning every single page. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like so juicy, like the romance, you know, like I was like, I want to know what's next, because they kept like the whole time in the first half of the book they were teasing this like mysterious dark power that's like taking over the realm and stuff like that. And so that was like the first half, but then by the second half, like, they kind of revealed everything, and so I felt like there was nothing left to like wonder. And then she had to do this stupid, like, the second half of the book was just like a bit like cringe in my opinion. Like, she had to do these like different tasks to like save the love of her life, or blah blah blah. Again, I didn't even feel like the romance between her and the main guy was that good. Like, it was cute at first, but like it just felt very like meh. Like there was another guy that gets introduced where obviously there's like loads of books, so it's obviously gonna be like a love triangle type of situation. I feel like her chemistry with the second guy was way better than her chemistry with the first guy, in my opinion. But yeah, the second half of the book I felt was a bit lame. Like, it was just kind of like, I don't want to give spoilers, but like if you've read it, you know. Like, I felt like that whole, I don't know, it was just a bit lame in my opinion. And the ending was a bit lame. And the stupid riddle was obvious and also lame. But I felt like the first half was good, so I gave it a 3-star. I am currently reading, like, I just started reading the second book in the series, A Course of Mist and Fury, because everyone said that that one's way better and is potentially the best one of the series. So I was like, I'll give it another go, because this was just okay. But it was good. I'll give it a 3-star for now. We'll see if the second book makes me want to read the rest of the books in the series. I feel like it won't, but I feel like if I just treat them as standalone books, then they're probably like good-ish. But That was acotar. And then wait, let me just double check I'm not missing anything from my Kindle books as well. I did have one book on Kindle. Okay, so the next book in my 3 stars was Funny Story by Emily Henry. So this is what I was saying, like I got this book, acotar, and The List when I went on holiday, and I read them all in like a week. Like I was really proud of myself with that one. I did my big one there. But I did like this one. I felt like it was really easy to read. Like if you're like trying to get back into reading books like this, that like the writing is very simple, I feel like it's a really good way to like start, because I think this is the only Emily Henry book I've read, but obviously she has like a lot of the others, like Beach Read, Book Lovers, like I've heard of them, but I've never read them. But I felt like it was good. It was like really easy to read. I liked the characters were likable, like it's like a rom-com-esque type book. I feel like the characters were likable. The like premise of their romance was like interesting as well as like kind of funny. It had like funny parts. So I did enjoy that. I feel like it was a fun one. I think I gave this actually 3.5, I believe. But yeah, I liked it. It was good. And then I think my favorite of the 3-star, oh my gosh, my battery's about to die again. My favorite of the 3 stars was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So I actually read that because it was the book club book. Part of my work's book club, and that was the book club book for December. Yeah, for December. And I enjoyed it. I thought the premise was so cool. Like it was really interesting, and like obviously like the main girl was insufferable. She was obviously awful, but like I felt like I don't mind if a main character is insufferable if they're supposed to be insufferable. But so I thought it was interesting. If you haven't read it, I feel like I would recommend that one. Like I felt like it was an interesting plot, and like I wanted to know more, you know. I was like turning the pages. I was like, okay, I need to know what happens. I need to know if she's gonna like get caught, which if you don't know the premise of the book, it's basically this girl like is an author, and she has this friend who she kind of hates that's also an author, but like a super successful author, and she's kind of like a failing author. Anyway, they're hanging out, and then she like dies. I won't like, it was an accident, but she dies. And then she basically steals like a manuscript that the girl that died had been working on, and like releases it as her own. Crazy. That happens in the first chapter, so it's not even like much of a spoiler, but like I was like, what? That's so crazy. And then I'm like, the whole time you're like, ooh, is she gonna get caught? Like, and then she's going through all these different things. So it's actually like, I feel like the book was very like meta, and I liked it. I would recommend that one. Okay, we have like 5 books left. Hopefully we can get through this without my battery dying again. This is like take 3. Okay. What's next? Okay, this is the 4 stars now. There's only 2 4 stars. And then the first one is this book called Everything's Fine. And I can't like, okay, so this book is basically about I feel like it's initially set as like a romance, but like it's not really a romantic. Like I wouldn't say it's like a romance book, but it's basically about like 2 people that start off on this like grad scheme in like a bank or something, and they knew each other from like uni because they used to argue in this like one class over like different racial issues. Like the main girl is black and then the guy is white, and then they just would always like disagree on different like, I guess, racial issues. And it's also set in America, so like you know the vibes. But then they kind of like become a couple at some point in the book, and it's a bit weird. Like their relationship is definitely super weird, and so that's why I feel like it's not a romance. But I felt like it was just really well written. Like I felt like I always wanted to know more. Like I feel like I started reading the book at night and I literally couldn't drop it. Obviously I forced myself to go to sleep at some point, but I felt like that's why I gave it a really good rating, because I just felt like it definitely was a page turner. In my opinion, it has really bad reviews on Goodreads, but I actually liked it. Like, I don't know, like I felt like it was just like, it's hard to describe it, but I feel like you have to read it to understand. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's like a romance book, because you're just like very like these people should not have been together at all. 100% not. But I felt like it was a good book just because it really like kept my interest, and like I felt like I wanted to like read to the end to find out like what happens, you know, if they stay together, like what goes on. So I thought it was a good book. Goodreads doesn't agree. It has some awful reviews, so don't take my word for it. But so that was one of the books that got a 4-star from me. And then the second book, this is one of the books I read earlier in the year as well. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And so this is like similar vibes to that Dollar Guts Dream department store book that I talked about earlier. Like I felt like they're both books that there's not really like a strong plot. So like the premise of this book is that it's still kind of like a little bit fantasy but real life as well. It's like there's a coffee shop where you can like time travel if you like sit on a like order like what's it, like a coffee in the specific seats of the cafe, and you can like either travel back in time or to the future, or there was another option but I forgot what it was, but those are like the two main ones. And then it's basically, but like the rule is like the person that you want to see to visit like has to have come to the cafe before at some point in the past. Like that's the only way you can like time travel to like see the person. So it's kind of one of those books that's not really a strong plot. It goes through like different character stories of their time in the cafe, and then again it's supposed to be some like more introspective type of book. But I felt like this one just did it so much better. Like I felt like it was really like heartwarming, and like it was just like very cute, I guess. It read more, I guess, mature than the Dollar Gut Dreams department store, but so that's why I gave this a 4-star, because I actually enjoyed it. Like it's a really short book. I think I gave it to my housemate to read and she didn't like it because she was like, there's no plot. And I'm like, yeah, there isn't, but it kind of works. So I did like this. I would recommend this. I feel like I got this as a TikTok recommendation. It is very cute. Would recommend. Now moving on to my faves, the 5 stars. These are books that I literally would not shut up about. Like as soon as I read them, like I literally, anytime someone asks for a book recommendation, I recommend these books. And I just love them so much. So these are my 5-star books. There's 3 of them. 2 of them are part of a series, and yeah, I'm a basic bitch because the first book is Fourth Wing. Oh my gosh. I read this on Kindle app, so I don't have the physical copy, but Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, girl, she slayed. That book, so that was probably like one of the, I feel like probably the second or third book that I read during this like August time when I was trying to get back into reading, and it was over 600 pages, and I read it in like 3 days. And this was going from like not really reading at all ever to not being able to drop my phone. Like my screen time that week was crazy because I was just always reading this book, and it was so good. Like oh my gosh, like I really like this is a TikTok book, but like it's worth it. Like I feel like some TikTok books might not be that good, but this one, oh my gosh, guys, read it. If you like dragons, if you like fantasy, if you like enemies to lovers, this is the book for you. Like it's so good. It basically follows this one main girl, and so when you become like a certain age, like the uni age, you either go to the college to become a dragon rider, or you can become a scribe, or you can become like, you can join the infantry, and then I think you can become like, I don't know, the medical people. I forgot what they called them. But this one girl, she's really tiny and like frail, and she wants to be a scribe, but her mom is like really high up in the army of the dragon riders, and she's like, no child of mine will be a scribe. Like you're gonna go to the dragon riding school, and the dragon riding school is like super cutthroat because it's like either you become a dragon rider or you die trying. And it's just like really good, and it's like a whole like war going on, you know. There's a lot of like secrets that aren't being revealed to the general public. There's magic. There's romance, there's drama. Guys, it's so good. Like, so that was like 5 stars straight away, no questions asked. And then obviously in accompaniment, Iron Flame, which is the second book. That also got 5 stars, obviously, because like they were just both so good. Like, and like there's the third book. I think the third one's the final one, and that comes out like this year, and I'm still fucking excited. And like literally, it's coming out in a few weeks, I think, and I'm fucking excited for it. But like, it's such a good book series, honestly, and I really recommend. Like, if you like Game of Thrones type vibes, or like not Game of Thrones, it's more similar to like House of Dragon. If you like that type of shit, you'll eat this up, and I love it. And then the final book that gets the 5 star, My Batch is About to Die Again. This book, Songlight. I discovered this book, so I never like heard of this book anywhere, but I went to a bookstore and like I was just like reading through all this stuff, and I saw this and I was like, that sounds like a bit of me. I guess this is more dystopian fantasy. It's basically a world where we're far in the future, and like some people develop a sixth sense, which is like they can communicate telepathically with other people that also have this ability, but it's like taboo. It's like you don't want to have it. Like if you have it, they like capture you, they pretty much kill you, and it's like not good. But the book is so good. Like it's kind of described as like, it's kind of like gives Handmaid's Tale vibes. Like if you've watched that or you've read the Handmaid's Tale books, like this is like that, plus like obviously the added element of like there's like powers and stuff. And it's so good. Like when I bought it in like September or like October, and I think it had literally just come out like a month before I bought it, and I didn't realize because it's also a series, and so like the next book isn't gonna come out until like probably like September this year, so I have to wait so long. But genuinely, I feel like this book is gonna pop off because it's so good. Like, I feel like the writing is really, really good on this. And then also it follows like, it's one of those books that follows different people's POVs, which I feel like sometimes isn't like good. Like sometimes it can be done badly, but I feel like freaking Moira Buffini, I don't know if that's how you say her name, but she slapped with the way she wrote it. Like I felt like it was so easy to follow the different perspectives, and like it was just so good. It was such a good book. Like I might reread it just for funsies because I actually love this book so much, and I feel like this is like my #1 top recommendation of anything. Like I mean, I wouldn't recommend most of these books I read because they're all a bit silly, but like this book, read it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Anyway, that's it for all the books I read last year. Currently, like I said, I'm reading A Court of Mist and Fury, and I have a really long like list of books that I want to read. Obviously, when the third book of what's called Fourth Wing comes out, I will be reading that. And then we'll just see how it goes. I feel like I do want to continue on in this, like, in my, like, being in my reading bag this year, because like books are so fun sometimes, because I feel like I really like imagining, especially like I think that's why I love the fantasy books. One, it's like escapism. Two, it's like I just love imagining it myself. Like obviously when you watch a show or a movie, like the creative direction is already there, it's laid out for you, but when you have a book, you can like imagine what all the characters look like the way you want them to look like. You can like imagine all the scenes, and you can just like really get into it, and I feel like it's actually quite fun. And then obviously we don't want to like ruin our brains by just scrolling through TikTok and Instagram all the time. So sometimes we need to heal, and we need to be able to read 2 pages of books without getting distracted, you know. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you read any of the books that I talked about and what you thought about them. Let me know if some of my reviews were really shit and wrong. I'll take it. We can have a little discussion. And comment down below like what books you're reading this year, or if you're also trying to get back into reading. Maybe we can start a little book club. I think about starting a book club with some of my friends who are also have the TikTok brain rot, and we're trying to heal. But let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you did. If you did, you know, you can just give it a little like because you know you want to, and I feel like you can give it a little subscribe if you're feeling so generous. But yeah, this was really fun. Maybe I'll think of more sit-downy videos that I can do, because this is actually quite enjoyable. I think I just love to talk, and I love to yap, and I feel like even if no one's listening, I'm listening to myself. But anyway, bye guys. See you next time. It's been a good year of reading, and I feel like now I can call myself a reader, you know. Like I enjoy strolling through a bookstore, reading the blurbs,